Hi everyone, welcome back. This is a training session this week following a question from Vicky on the Facebook forum. For those of you who are still on Twitter or Google Plus and haven't made it over to Facebook, we do have a private group there with around 30, I think, members in there, so you might want to check that out. So the question was from Vicky: I've got a brand new business, which is a craft and handmade business. How do I go about finding new people and targeting people who like crafts? So what I'm going to do is, I thought it might be useful to record the thought process and exact steps that we would use in-house here. So the very first thing we would do is make sure that we're implementing things from the essentials video in the training platform. Again, if you haven't done that, basically what it says is that most pages just talk about themselves. So here's the product, here's the product, here's the product, here's the product, here's the product. But it's a little one-dimensional. And one of the challenges is it gives people every single time a do you want to buy anything, yes or no decision. And the more they say no, and of course the majority of time will be no, because not everything is going to be to their taste, well, actually, after a while, people just stop doing anything. So basically, what we have to do is make sure that we've got a little bit of variety. So again, depending on the type of business you have, in this one, we would ask, are you only looking to appeal to people in a reasonably local environment? So where you can either ship them or people can pick them up. If so, then one of those things you might want to talk about now and again is local issues. Parking, rubbish collection, good things that are happening, bad things that are happening, not necessarily being too controversial, but just showing that you've got your finger on the pulse. And as people interact with those particular articles, then obviously that's good because they will see future things when you are selling. One thing I didn't mean to mention at the beginning was you have to excuse the casual attire today. I'm at home, it's my daughter's birthday, but one of the things, it's about 30 degrees outside, so I am a little more casual than you would normally see me. So if you can get past that, hopefully the rest will be gold. So there may be other things. So craft, what else are people interested in? Is it origami? Is it things they can do? Is it tips? Is it techniques? Is it how to distress furniture? That's kind of a little bit then of your own knowledge as to what you think people are going to be interested in. So it could be children. So if you know that your most popular selling things are all about kids, then talking about kids is quite natural. Talking about other people's children's and what are parents interested in. And that could range dramatically from how to get stains out of carpets or crayons out of hair or, right the way through to things to do, games to play in the car, to stop the are we there yet syndrome. Are you worried about how much time kids spend on electronics? Well, again, these are things that you can talk about in between selling. And then about 15% of your posts, unless you're in fashion retail, should be more than about selling. So basically signing up for a newsletter. So the next thing you have to ask yourself is, how are your processes? So you've asked, what are people interested in? That's your first part. The second is, what are your processes? Do you have time to follow up? So do you have time to update Facebook 2 or 3 times a day? And again, bear in mind, that doesn't mean that you have to be at Facebook 2 or 3 times a day. It just means that you have to schedule your posts. Do you have time to do that? Do you have time to follow up to inquiries? Do you need money now? And I know that sounds really daft, but if you can apply a long-term strategy, then it's much cheaper to generate likes than it is to generate sales. The advantage of generating a like over a sale is at least you have a relationship now that potentially you can reach them for free rather than advertising. Now, even better than that would be if you can get them across onto your database. So there's 2 things you have to do. One is, if you're driving people to a website, make sure that you are doing what we call pixels. And again, we have covered that in one of the trainings, which basically in the adverts, it allows you to place a little cookie on your website. So anytime everybody goes to your website, if they are a Facebook user, it will just put them in a little marketing bucket for later down the line. The earlier you start this, it's completely free. It's just a piece of code you put on your website, which almost anybody can do, even on things like Weebly or WordPress, etc. Basically, that just starts popping people into a bucket for when you're ready to market to them. Marketing to people who've already visited your website is much cheaper than marketing to cold people who haven't been and aren't familiar with you, because obviously they've already taken the decision to go and visit the site. Now, again, excluding family, because family will go there as well. Basically, people, if they've already been to your site, they've already shown a level of buying intent, even if they haven't purchased. So if you're going to be driving people to a website, make sure you have that pixel on day one. You won't actually be able to use it till I think 50 or 100 Facebook users have been there, but it's worth having. And again, look at that. So what is your process? If you don't have any time to do emails, if you don't have any time to do follow-up, then again, you just have to ask yourself, what is going to happen? The next thing is what is the value of this customer? Now, again, that may sound like a daft question, because you may say, well, I'm selling things for £20, therefore it's £20. But as you probably know, you've got costs, you've got materials, you've got time. So even starting out, a lot of people don't put their time in, and that's okay. It's about getting the name out there. I understand that. But at some point, you want to be paid, make it profitable so that you can grow the business to whatever level you choose. And if that's small, that's fine. If it's huge, then obviously you go down a slightly different track. So we talk in this week's weekly training, which is aside from this, is going to be about lifetime value. But how many things are people realistically going to buy? So, for example, a lot of times we have what we call a loss leader, or something that just merely breaks even, but it's just about getting the person to make that first purchase. So once they're a customer, we can wow them. We can get them the stuff in double quick time. We can give them little giveaways. We can just make them feel like they've made the best decision. And then hopefully they will either both come back, but also recommend us. Now, sometimes that might then be done where we're selling something for 12. It might even cost us £15. It might even cost us £20 to drive that customer. Well, obviously that's not good for cash flow, but if you can manage that in the early stages, and you know that people are going to buy 3, 4, 5 of these a year, or maybe even only 2 or 3 a year, then obviously now you don't have to acquire that customer again. So the math looks very basic. So if I just run a thumbnail sketch over that, that would be person buys 3 times at £20, and let's say there's £10 or £15 profit in each one. So 3 times or 2 times the future purchases is £30 in profit. If you break even or even lose £5 on the first one, then 30 minus the 5, obviously at that point, you're then looking at a £25 profit on top of what you've already spent to acquire. So theoretically, to break even, you could spend up to £40, but of course that would mean you just have 3 sales in the future, a little bit poor cash flow, but obviously you'd be in profit. Now, that's worthwhile thinking about. Now, how are these people going to come back? Well, they're going to come back, obviously, after seeing things on Facebook. But again, you may well want to be committed to making sure you keep a mailing list. The value is always in the list. So Facebook is great, Twitter is great, LinkedIn is great, followers are great. But subscribers and email subscribers are actually gold. Those are the ones that will drive future business, that when you launch something where you want to test a concept out, you can go to that hungry audience, and that makes a massive difference. So you have to work out what can you afford and what's the timeline. So for example, when I first started Snowflake, we spent probably a few £100 on driving likes, and then we delivered value on the page so that people were getting very good stuff. So at this point, we were £300-400 in the hole. So at that point, we started offering free downloadable reports, or if somebody wanted to share their details, we might give them their Facebook score. So again, we still didn't have any revenue, but the numbers look something like this. Let's say it was we spent £300, and let's say we got 1,000 people like the page. So we're £300 down. So now from the 1,000 people, we now start to offer free downloads, etc. So now we may get 250 of those people now on our database. So that now has put them in a slightly higher category of lead, or of people that are interested. So what we did then is we then said, hey, would you like a premium version of this report? So the first report was great value. Everybody that got it would be happy. But some people wanted to go another step further. Well, 20% of people then turned around and said, yeah, okay, we'll go further. And they paid £20 to get something. So now I have 20 people, so 20%, sorry, of a couple of hundred. So it's 40 people paying £20. Well, now that's £800 in sales. Obviously, a little less for profit, but not much because it was an informational product. But we only paid £300. So we're basically getting a return instantly of certainly double our money. And obviously, we now then have part of those people will then go on to purchase, whether it's things like the I'm In Club, whether it's consultancy, whether it's website design, all those different things across the rest of the year. So what we actually typically find is that the £1 acquisition cost that it might cost us to acquire somebody over time, as an average, might actually turn out to deliver 10, 12, £13 worth of income. And that's profit. So obviously then you ask yourself the question, if you can have some delayed gratification, is that worthwhile? Would you swap a £1 note or £1 note? I don't think we have £1 notes anymore. Would you swap a £1 coin for a £10 note? Well, most people would say yes. And if we said, how many times would you like to do that transaction? You'd probably tell us, well, I'll do it as many times as you want, because actually you take the £10 I gave you, you would now change that into pound coins, and then you would change it again. Now, it's a very simplistic, method, but it does work. But also it means that if your cost goes up to £2 a like, £3 a like, £4 a customer who goes onto your database, then actually you don't mind, because you know you've got a model that delivers £12 in profit. So yes, the days of milk and honey might be over once you've reached a certain point, but you can still make profit and still turn those into good customers. Now, again, I could only do that if I was prepared to offer value. Now, back to this example of I'm running a craft, what value can we give? Well, certainly tips. Yeah. So, for example, people may want to know how you do what you do. Now, that seems completely counterintuitive. How do I tell somebody how I make this particular product? Or if you want to do this at home, here's how you do it. Because actually, won't they just not buy my stuff, and won't they just make all their stuff going forward? Well, that could happen. Some people could do it. Or if you like, the majority of people, they may have a go, realize how difficult and rubbish their own efforts are, no offense. And then obviously they'll appreciate your product even more. So that's certainly something to think about. How else could you give value? You could give giveaways and competitions. So again, win one of these, bearing in mind that they only want to win something they want to win. It's not like you're offering an iPhone where everybody would want it, but it has no correlation to your product. But something that's very specific, to your thing. And it might be you win one of these for each one of your kids' birthdays, or you might win one for Christmas, or you might win one for Valentine's Day. That's up to you as to how big that prize is or how small. But basically, every single entrant is a potential customer because they like what you're selling. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to get one, whether it's for free or not. Now, I hear some people saying, well, actually, I know some people who'll have anything for free. That's the minority. So obviously, we want to focus on the majority. We can't cover every single element. So basically, have a look at that and then say, okay, how much can I afford to do? What's the acquisition cost? Do I have time to follow up? Because you have no time to follow up, then actually it's just about making sales. So the next thing is, how do I find people? So in this particular case, Vicky asked a great question, which was, how do I find people who are interested in craft? Now, it's a very interesting one, and it's a very obvious place to start. And one of the challenges is that there are two types of people in craft. There are people who enjoy buying handmade stuff, and there are people who enjoy making handmade stuff. I would argue that the people who enjoy making are less likely to be customers or convert to be customers than the people who just like purchasing things that are unique, if that makes sense. Maybe unique is better than handmade. So yes, you can say, tell me people who are interested in crafts. So you can buy some adverts, and in the interest section, you can say, I'm interested in people who either like this particular type of company, so Etsy, For example, in the UK, there's also one called Folksy, Folksy, which is all about handmade. It's all about craft. It's a marketplace. Certainly a very good place to be as a seller. But what I would argue is a lot of people who've said I like that are in that I also make craft. So I would certainly do it because they're still better than the general population. So if we took 100 people and said, right, how many of these 100 are potential customers? Well, out of 100, it might be 30. But if you took 100 crafters or 100 people interested in craft, it might be 50. Okay. My real key is, though, that the people who love to buy unique stuff, if I took 100 of them, well, actually now that number might be 60 or 70 or 80. Doesn't mean 60 or 70 or 80 out of 100 are going to buy every time, but actually you just want to keep rotating through and building a steady audience. So one of the things I would do is I would go to Facebook Graph, and just in case you haven't watched the videos are all in the training section. So again, if you've forgotten your logins or you're thinking to yourself, I haven't been there for a while, go and check. There's lots of videos. You know, one of the most common things I hear is people say, well, you know, I'm not sure, you know, if I'm getting enough out of it. But when we show them that there's another probably 30, 40 videos they haven't seen yet that you can pick and choose from, it's like, oh yeah, I haven't been back to the site since the first week or second week. So make sure you go back and do the training videos as well. If you're watching this video because it's been shared and you have no idea what I'm talking about as a training site, basically we have a club called the I'm In Club. It's £30 a month. What's that, about €40? And basically you get full Q&A. You get videos like this one, which was a direct result of one of the members asking a specific question. You get social media staff, sales pitch over. You can always get in touch with the person that shared it or go to snowflakemedia.co.uk/success club, all one word. Anyway, back to it. So I would use the Facebook search bar. So number one, make sure you're logged in as a personal account, not as your page. And then where you see that F button, so as you're looking at the screen on Facebook, top left-hand side, you've got a search bar within there. You can type in pages about crafts. So, or pages about handmade items, or pages about, etc. And that will give you a whole list of pages. Have a look at those pages and say, which ones are my likely customers likely to like? And just make a note, because you're going to use that. If it's got more than 5, 6, 7, 8,000 likes, you're going to be able to put that as a target within your advertising. So very worthwhile doing. Now, once you've found the pages that you like, you might have a list of 3, 4, 5 different pages. At that point, now go back into the Facebook search bar and type something, I think, along these following lines. What you're going to say is, tell me the most popular pages that people who like this page that I've already identified, tell me the most popular other pages that people like. And the way you'll craft that is something like, pages that people who like XYZ page also like. And what it will do is it will give you a list of the most popular. So obviously everybody likes hundreds of pages. Not everybody. Everybody likes 20 pages, 30 pages, 50 pages. Facebook will basically give you a list of pages that people who like those. So, sorry, I'll say that in a bit more plain English. It will take the people who like the page you've identified. So, for example, people who like Social Snowflake. So you could put pages that people who like Social Snowflake also like. And then it will take the 2,000 people that like our page, and what it will do is just say which pages most commonly are liked by these 2,000 people. And then it will rank those in, and then basically it will show you, so you may well have another option. Then what you do is make a note of that and then go to your advertising. And again, just make a decision. What are you going to do? Are you going to sell something? Have you got a hero product for the image that people just have been going crazy for? So go to your insights and have a look at what you've posted, which ones have had the most clicks on them. Now, don't just look at the thumbs up and the comments, okay? Big mistake everybody makes. They just look and say, how many likes and shares did I get? How many likes and comments? That's an okay barometer, but a better one is two things. One is have a look down at the reach. So you'll see instantly which ones have more reach, even if they don't have likes and shares. Because what that means is that probably people picked onto the image and thought, yeah, let me have a look. It caught their interest. So it might be something to do with a colour. It might be something to do with the sentiment. Might be something to do with time of day. But basically, have a look at that. And if you can't see it down your page because you've got so many things, go to Insights, which is Facebook Insights. So log in as your page and now look at Page Insights. And at that point, now you'll be able to have a look and see which ones had most images. The most surprising thing typically is when people have clicked on the image. So you might have one like, you might have one comment or no comments, but you might have like 600 or 700 page views, which means that somebody's been sharing that around like crazy or saying you should have a look at this, but they haven't used one of the official things. Or basically down the side column, when it's telling you what your friends have had for breakfast and it's telling you that Lee Kenny just went to like this page, all those notifications, well, now people are clicking onto those and seeing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will know they've done it unless you look at those insights. So you got a standout or a hero, put that up. And then the next thing is test. So test what you want to do. So my particular favorite, if it was me, I would say I would run a competition. And I would say, win one of these worth £20. Okay, and I would pick up the image that has the best one, but I would say you can have anything designed that you want to have, because I know in this particular case that you're taking commissions. So you would say you can have anything you want, free of charge. All you have to do is this. You have to like the page, and then B, you have to enter your details here. Now, do not do that in the Facebook comments. So don't ask people just to comment or share below. It's good and it gets people going, but what you'll find at the end of the day is you have 100 shares, but you have nobody's name and address. You have nobody's name and email address. So the next time you want to market these people, you have to start from zero. So to enter, basically like this page, and then you can either use lead pages, which is a system we've shown you. You can use plugins into the Facebook site that basically allow you to capture people's data. But basically the key is so MailChimp, for example, has a free one. So if you've got a MailChimp account, which I think is free, which is an email account, it gives you something you can plug into Facebook, and it says here, just sign up here, and it drops it directly into your email list. Well, now you can pick a winner, and knowing that suddenly you might only get 100 entries, but would you prefer 100 entries, somebody who's liked your page and gone on and filled their details, or would you like 1,000 people sharing, but with no sales and no ability to reach these people? Because believe me, once you get more than 20, 30 comments on a page, you can't make sense of it at all as a user. You can't find if somebody's replied. You can't see when the competition entries won. I mean, you might post it in 3 weeks' time and I may not get it on my timeline. So you really want to kind of do that. So what I would do is, if I know that somebody's going to buy more than one product a year, as long as they like it, if I know that, I have a bit of time to do a little bit of email marketing, then I would do a competition, win this, make sure you like the page. That's important. Make sure that you enter. Those are the two conditions. If you don't do both, you're not in the running. Okay. Then I would email everybody that enters a voucher. I would just say, hey, if you want to buy one of these in the next 7 days, so the competition is going to be drawn shortly, maybe in a week, maybe in 2 weeks, anything up to a month is fine, unless it's a huge competition, like win a cruise or something like that, in which case you can make it last for a year, believe it or not, and there are tactics around that. But smaller prized items, less than 20, less than 30, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks is perfectly fine. So I would say that to them, I would say, hey, we're going to draw that in due course in a short amount of time. But actually, as a thank you for entering, here is a £5 discount voucher. Now, again, why are we doing that? We're doing that because we want somebody to turn into a customer. Once they've bought from you, They're now on another level. They should be segmented out, and you should treat those people like gold. So first of all, they're paying money, but B is you can now talk to them in a slightly different way about refer a friend, about would you like to share, or get them really involved. So I remember one of the things I was talking to somebody this week about. I used to go to a sushi restaurant in Australia. I lived there for a couple of years, and it was nothing special. It was almost in the back of a shopping arcade. You would struggle to find it, but once we'd been once or twice, we got recognised. And what the chef used to do, or actually the owner, used to come out and say, "Hey, the chef is just trying out a new dish for next week. Yeah, would you mind testing two or three things and letting me have some feedback? No charge. We just thought this place was absolutely amazing. Yep, the food was good, so it had to deliver a good product. But the fact that we were engaged actually just made us feel super special. And we went there a lot more than we would have done. So to parlay that over into an example here, it could be, so for Vicky, when you're thinking about doing a brand new design, you may turn around and say, hey, I'm not asking the world and his dog this question. I'm not putting this on Facebook. This is just for you. This is for you guys who are customers and loyal. Bear in mind, anybody that's bought are now fall into that category. And you can send an email out and say, I just want some feedback. Which of these three kind of designs do you think would be best? Okay. And then a few days later, then you can ask Facebook. But this will really start to build a community of buyers as well. So I'm hoping that's kind of making sense. So talk about interesting things. Think really carefully about the targeting. Do you really want people who are on crafts, or do you want people who've taken stuff? So that are maybe buyers as opposed to crafters. So an example here might be, I might be more tempted to look for people who've bought from not on the high street than maybe people who just like a particular brand. Okay, does that make sense? So I may well look for those. There is another tip. If you guys are using Power Editor, which is the free Facebook version, it's sat there within Ads Manager. If you're using Power Editor, under Behavior, if you type in FB for Facebook, FB space payments, and select all, so it'll say FB payments big, FB payments all, FB payments small. I think there's three options typically. Very interesting thing. That means that somebody has physically bought directly from an advert on Facebook. Mind blowing. So now, instead of just people who have just engaged, which are nice, you can actually turn around and say, I just want to target people who fall into people who physically spent money having seen an advert. I won't go into how that all works today. That's for another session. And I think we're pushing 30 minutes now, and you'll all be thinking, oh my God, my brain's hurting on all this sort of stuff. So think about the targeting. Think more about what you want. You really want people who have physically bought things. Yeah. The only exception to that is you might want to get in front of bloggers. So you can go and target bloggers, in which case you'd say, where do bloggers hang out? Now, at that time, under interests, you would put crafts. Okay, so craft, design, handmade, homemade things. In job description, you might write blogger, okay, journalist. So those people you would target completely separately. But again, those are for people, where you might run an ad saying, bloggers wanted to review handmade goods. Yeah, boom. Okay, you might give away 3, 4, 5 of these for free, but now you're hopefully getting a return back as long as the quality is good. Now they will write. Not all bloggers are of interest, and again, you want to make sure that they do the same thing. They apply, because again, not everybody's equal. You only want to work with people who can help. Test creative, switching that image in out, depending on which one will work best. You can do other things such as groups. So you can go and find crafting groups. You can get involved. Same as any networking, you can't be all take. You've got to get in. You've got to pat people on the back. You've got to tell people, solve people's problems. But long term, very, very effective, very, very free. Now, again, you have to be authentic. So I see it all the time. People go into groups. They post 5 lovely things about, oh, this is a great group. What's everybody doing today? Hey, this is a really great article over here. And then they go bam, 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 right, sell, 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 sell. People get wise to it. So that's if you have time, you want to go ahead. So I'm going to wrap this up now. So if it were me, I would say win this, target people within a geographic area that you want to be in or national. Don't make it too wide. Again, if you already have some data on your page, have a look at who's liking it. So is it 30 to 44-year-olds? Change your target into that rather than 18 to 60. So you already know something works. If you know it's very female, I can't imagine many guys would buy this, although they would be interested. But would they physically buy? Maybe. So again, you can stack the odds in your favor initially by just targeting women as opposed to men. So, and again, what else? What other pages do they like? What pages are similar to Not on the High Street? You know, the white stuff. And then you can extend beyond craft and say, you know, tell me pages also that are very popular with people who like Not on the High Street. And then just work on, on that strategy. But that should be a very, very effective thing to get started. Again, if you just don't have the time, certainly you can drive page likes and then just post, sales products through. Won't be quite as effective long term. The real key is to get these people off onto the database. So I hope you found that useful. Mega training. Certainly that stood us very, very well in almost every industry that we've done this with. So add some value, enjoy yourself, have some fun. And if you've got any questions or comments, post them below. And we'd love to hear them. Likewise, if you've got a topic you want to get covered, sometimes, we write about it. We might just post a comment to resolve it. But if it's a meaty issue like where do I start, then obviously we'll love to kind of record these trainings for you as well. So hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to talking to you soon. And Vicky, good luck with it. And I hope you managed to make it through the mammoth 32-minute session now. But I look forward to seeing you all again soon.